Hello, we're currently holding our first interview with the head of EU delegation in Armenia, Mr. Traian Hristreia. Mr. Hristreia, thanks for having us here.
Thanks for inviting me.
And congratulations on the Peace Prize.
Well, thank you very much.
They say it's encouraging for future actions and future actions aimed to peace and development of democracy. So, would you like to add something? Or? Okay.
I'm in your hands.
Oh, thank you. So my first question is this: if we come from the Peace Prize to EU strategy in the South Caucasus, could you outline what does the EU expect from South Caucasus as a whole, as a region, and what does it expect from each country in the South Caucasus specifically?
Well, I would like to say a few words about the event itself, because sure. Peace is quite essential in the European endeavor. In fact, if you look to the Rome Treaty, when the European communities were first established, you will see that the first article is in order to maintain peace on the continent. So since then, over 70 years, the European communities and then the European Union worked towards the possibility to bring in together the nations on the European continent in a cooperative approach that will make impossible war to happen again on the European continent.
Okay.
And I'm proud to admit that this really happened, and the European Union became the target and the destination for many European citizens, European member states presently now as members of the European Union, okay. But a few years ago endeavoring to become members of the European Union, because this is a dream many peoples dreamt after the fall down of the communism rule in Europe. Secondly, to concretely answer to your question, I would rather prefer to stick in the relations with Armenia. Okay. There are other personalities that are dealing with the general Southern Caucasus as a region. But since this is the region we are working with, I can only tell that the European Union is an entity that has no hidden agenda as far as the Southern Caucasus is concerned. Okay. The only issues on the agenda for the European Union is to have the Southern Caucasus country and region as a stable region, as a prosperous region, as a region that allow for normal day-to-day peaceful interaction based on the market economy, European values, democracy and human rights.
So if we start from democracy, as you mentioned in your line, how would you assess the level of democratization in Armenia, and could you compare it with other countries in the region in the perspective whether the region develops equally or integrates equally the European values in itself, or there are disparities, and how strong are disparities, if there are any?
Well, first and foremost, allow me to tell you that the European Union has a tailor-made approach towards each and every country, and we do respect the realities in each and every country. As of Warsaw Summit, when the principle of more for more was endorsed by all the stakeholders, including by the Southern Caucasus countries so far, the differentiated approach by the European Union becomes the rule. So the European Union, based on that principle, the so-called principle more for more, would be ready to provide more assistance and to encourage those countries that are delivering more upon the reforming process, internal reforms or institutional reforms, of the regulatory reforms, and will be ready to continue and to assist in order to implement these commonly shared objectives.
Okay.
When it comes to Armenia, I can only say that just recently we decided to increase our assistance based on the track record of the reforms here in Armenia, and the amount that we came additionally from that perspective. It was announced during the visit of the President of the European Council here in July. It is about 15 million euros.
So if we think about these reforms in Armenia, how would you assess their impact on the society? I mean, do the reforms remain on the legislative side only, or they lack implementation by authorities to be reflected upon the society?
I'm glad that you mentioned the word implementation. Implementation is our key word for the future activities here in Armenia, and this was agreed during the high-level visits we had here in Armenia. President of the European Council, Commissioner Füle's visit here, and our day-to-day activity with the Armenian authorities. This is indeed our aim, and to make sure that the deliverables upon the reforms are there. In general terms, we here do not speak about the regulatory reform of the comprehensive institution building only. We will have to speak about a longer process of transition, which involves not only institutional reforms or democratization, but it also includes a change into mentalities of the people, the way people are thinking and approaching doing business based on commonly agreed and commonly shared rules here in the country. We will be ready to assist but a lot remains to be done also by our counterparts here in order to make sure that the reform process goes beyond the non-return point and accumulates such a critical mass that will lead to good dividends to be shared by the local population too.
There is this idea or even criticism. The whole idea is that this more for more idea creates a disparity in the region, and this hinders the regional stability or security, so to say. If more for more comes to Armenia, Georgia, then Georgia goes first, and then Armenia and then Azerbaijan, there is this criticism, and that they create a disparity. Do you think this creates disparity, or it's just a normal way to encourage the countries to take more reforms?
European Union in its policies always kept with the track record of each and every country, and each and every country was judged upon based on its own merits. This is not exception here. This is not about creating disparities. The whole principle of more for more is a principle that aims towards assisting more those countries that want to do more reform. Is not to decrease the level of assistance for the others. It's just to offering more to those who deliver more upon the reforms. So I think that it's a healthy approach. Why not to say a healthy competition among the countries that could be very much co-interested in trying to deliver upon the reforms, as I said earlier, because it is important not to lose time as well.
So it's a tool to encourage countries to be competitive.
To be competitive under commonly agreed rules and standards, the European Union values and standards.
I'd like to ask you to elaborate on the financial assistance to Armenia retrospectively. So if we start from, if we viewed it retrospectively, have the targets of financial assistance changed? And how efficient do you think this assistance has been? And are there any gaps that remain that need to be addressed later?
When it comes to the gaps, of course, this issues has to be a matter of discussion. And this discussion is going on a permanent basis with our counterparts here. One thing is very much clear. We cannot go above or more of what we have agreed and already committed within our budget. This is one thing. Secondly, when it comes to the financial assistance, I think that this financial assistance so far was quite generous and oriented towards those fields of activities that were in more need in order to accompany the transition process towards the reforms and towards the implementation of this new approach, I would say. This being said, I would like here to underline one thing. Our main targeted assistance goes to the direct budget support operations, be it for, I would say, comprehensive institution building of regulatory framework, but not only. Generally speaking, it goes mainly via the direct budget support operations. And obviously, in order to make sure that this program is a successful one, there are some conditionalities that have to be implemented by the authorities when disbursing the financial assistance. The mechanism is as such: if the conditionalities are not met, the disbursement is not there. So I think we have a very healthy check and balance here, mechanism in which we are making sure that what we have commonly and jointly agreed with the Armenian authorities as being deliverables are there. Otherwise, it's difficult to move ahead.
So if we try to bring all this into this idea of regional peace, there is this idea that EU doesn't have a special or how to say comprehensive strategy towards peace in EU. That there has been this feeling among the society, and I think that it's better, EU better supports the Minsk group and says a lot of the process. How do you comment on this?
Well, let me tell you.
How correct is this?
Well, perceptions, we are living in a free country and people are free to have free thoughts and free opinions about it. But in general terms, let me tell you the following. The European Union has a special representative for dealing with the conflicts in Georgia and the Southern Caucasus. But at the same time, we are living in a concrete world with concrete commitments, obligations, and agreements. The Minsk group is the framework for settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. And from that perspective, European Union can only support the endeavors of the Minsk group when it comes to the settlement. So we will continue to do so. We will continue to provide financial assistance in projects that are aiming to bring a better understanding about the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh, to bring together the communities and collectivities, to exchange views, to communicate and not to remain isolated there. But of course, the main bulk here is to be dealt with by the Minsk group and its co-chair, and the European Union can have only a supportive value here.
There is also this idea that the interests of different member states in the region of EU, supposedly Germany-Georgian relations, or Britain, Azerbaijan, and France, Armenia. These relations each target different things, and this hinders the entire EU approaches to maintaining regional stability and providing peace. How much do these interests hinder the regional peace in your understanding? How would you evaluate this?
Maybe you could rephrase a bit the question, because I'm not quite sure.
There is this idea that each of the three countries, like Germany, France, and Great Britain, target different things in the region. So to say, like Great Britain targets the oil, or France targets other things, and these targets hinder what has EU as an institution or as a supranational institution has decided to implement in the region in terms of bringing peace and stability. I
will not agree with such kind of issues, because first and foremost, all the EU member states, in implementing their foreign policy principles, they base these principles on certain values, and the European values are the commonly agreed values. This does not necessarily mean that each and every bilateral state have to have a kind of equal approach towards each and every country. It's foreign policy, it's a matter of national competency. It's not a matter of exclusive European Union competency, but it's at the same time a coordination process in between, where we share common approach and common values. So we are in very close coordinations with our member states, and I can assure you that the policies that are aimed towards the stability, prosperity, and peace in the region are commonly shared by all our member states. And I can tell you more. Our budget comes from the member states. The projects that we are financing here are coming from the member states. So I have to be very honest with you. It will be very difficult to make such kind of assessment.
So, if trying to conclude, what are EU's objectives for Armenia in the near future? What are the main projects you are targeting for Armenia?
Well, we have a lot of projects that we are using them as tools, as instruments in trying to move forward the export of European values in your country, export of stability in your country, and offering alternatives or an European model of development. But basically the main objective for Armenia in the future, in the
nearest future. Yeah.
Nearest future, it's first and foremost to conclude the negotiations of the association agreement, to advance and within pending on the substance of the negotiations, to conclude the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, to finalize and implement the visa facilitation and readmission agreement as measures for safe and secure mobility, or in other words, to say the following: we would like Armenia to become an associated country, integrated within the European market, and where the movement of persons is safely and securely managed.
Oh, thank you. And my last question is this: are you satisfied with Armenia's progress retrospectively, if viewing? Do you think we are reforming objectively quick, or we could take more reforms?
I will have to give you a very personal answer to that. I came here since December, and I have no reasons to be dissatisfied so far.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.